They force another turnover. Clark, the quick pass, whips it right to Cunningham. 500 career assists for Caitlin Clark, the fastest to do it in WNBA history.
Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever walked into 2 games against the Golden State Valkyries and left with 16 WNBA records. 16. Some of them had stood for over a decade. Some of them had never existed before because nobody had ever played at this pace. The May 22nd game in Indianapolis was a physical, chippy, trash-talking battle that Indiana won going away. And the May 28th rematch in San Francisco ended in a 2-point loss that had nothing to do with how Clark performed. We're breaking down all 16 records from these 2 Valkyries games because the numbers are genuinely hard to believe. Show how proud you are of Caitlin and the team by commenting CC Record Breaker. The Golden State Valkyries came to Gainbridge Fieldhouse on May 22nd with a specific plan. Get physical with Caitlin Clark, make her uncomfortable, and see if Indiana would unravel. Gabby Williams and Tiffany Hayes were in Clark's face from the opening tip, grabbing, bumping, talking, and the Valkyries were betting that if they turned this into a street fight, the Fever would crack. For about a half, it was genuinely working.
Hayes is fouled by Clark. That's a freedom of movement.
Pre-game studio show. The Fever had to make them feel that second night so far. Haven't been able to do so. And there Clark does draw the foul.
The first half went back and forth, and the building was already loud, but it completely exploded when Clark and Janelle Salayun got hit with a double technical at halftime. That's the kind of moment that changes the energy in an arena. And you could feel both teams deciding right there that nobody was backing down. The Valkyries weren't just playing hard defense, they were trying to get in Indiana's head, and there were real stretches where it looked like the strategy was paying off.
Gotta make you pay with that 3.
Final 5 seconds. Can Hull do it again? Not this time. That'll take us into halftime. Well, some extracurriculars. Here is both teams head to their respective benches.
What Golden State didn't plan for was Aaliyah Boston. While Clark absorbed contact and attention on the perimeter, Boston went to work on the interior in a way that Golden State had no answer for. And by the time the second half started, Indiana had completely figured out how to attack them. Boston finished with 20 points and 16 rebounds in under 30 minutes of play, catching lobs, attacking the offensive glass, and making interior play after interior play that forced the Valkyries into an impossible situation. Send help to Boston and Clark gets open looks from the logo. Stay home on Clark and Boston eats them alive in the paint. Golden State spent the entire second half trying to solve that problem and never did.
Handoff, Boston backing her way inside, kick out Hull, repost Boston. Boston turns, fades, fires and hits.
Beautifully done. Boston back to back, the repost. In the one-on-one, feels the D.
Mitchell on the attack, gets to the rim but couldn't finish. Tip out Hull, Boston's open, and she hits a 3!
Indiana won 90-82, and the final score honestly doesn't tell the full story of how one-sided the second half got once Boston took over. Kelsey Mitchell knocked down clutch free throws late. Clark took over offensively in the fourth quarter, and the Valkyries simply ran out of answers. The trash talk kept going all the way through the final buzzer. Bench players got involved. The crowd at Gainbridge was completely unhinged, and Clark was not backing down from a single word anyone threw at her. After she drained a logo 3 in the third quarter, she got right in Tiffany Hayes' face, and Maisha Hines-Allen had to sprint across the court from the bench to step between them before it escalated further. That's a different Fever team than the one that struggled through parts of 2025. When you go back and look at the box score from that night, the records start jumping out fast. Boston became the first Fever player in franchise history to put up 20 points and 15 rebounds in under 30 minutes of play, and Indiana's streak of scoring 85 or more points extended to 6 straight games to open the season, the second longest such streak in WNBA history, behind only the 2011 San Antonio Silver Stars, who ran it to 7. Before we even get to San Francisco, the May 22nd game alone produced 7 records, and a couple of them reframe what Clark is doing statistically in a way that's genuinely hard to process. Let's start with the most straightforward one. Clark scored 20 or more points for the 5th straight game to open the season, which made her the first player in WNBA history to record 20 points and 5 assists in each of her first 5 games of a season. Not the first in recent years, not the first since the league expanded rosters or changed rules, the first ever in the entire history of the league.
Handoff, Boston backing her way inside, kick out Hull, repost Boston. Boston turns, fades, fires and hits.
Beautifully done. Boston back to back, the repost. In the one-on-one, feels the D.
Mitchell on the attack, gets to the rim but couldn't finish. Tip out Hull, Boston's open, and she hits a 3.
To get a sense of why that's wild, think about the guards who've played at the highest level in this league. Sue Bird ran one of the most efficient offenses the WNBA has ever seen. Diana Taurasi scored more points than anyone who's ever played in this league. Sabrina Ionescu, Alyssa Thomas, players who could absolutely fill it up and distribute. None of them ever started a season with 5 straight games of 20 points and 5 assists. Clark didn't just break a record, she did something that had no precedent at all.
Yeah, Hull recovered nicely. She started Charles 0 for 3 from the floor. Clark launches and hits!
Pure joy in the arena and forces a quick timeout.
Then pull back to the career numbers because this is where it gets interesting. Through 57 career games, Clark had more points than Diana Taurasi had through her first 57 games, more assists than any player in WNBA history had through 57 games, and more three-pointers than any player in WNBA history had through 57 games. Taurasi is the all-time scoring leader. Clark is outpacing her at the exact same stage of her career, and she's doing it while also leading all-time in assists and threes through 57 games simultaneously. The 3-game span record is worth sitting with for a second. Players with 75 or more points and 25 or more assists in any 3-game stretch in WNBA history. Sabrina Ionescu has done it once. Clark extended her own lead to 9 times. Ionescu is one of the best passers this league has ever produced, and Clark has matched what Ionescu did once 9 separate times. That's not a small gap, that's a completely different category.
Caitlin Clark, 22, has done it again.
Clark, pretty step back, hits a 3. Clark behind the back.
Cross-court pass, Clark to Mitchell. Big 3 for Indiana. Sludge just went right by her from her teammates and laid it in. She's got 20.
Clark goes behind her back. In transition. Whoop. Count it for Clark.
But that's not all, because the Aaliyah Boston records from this game connect directly to why Clark's numbers keep climbing. When Boston drops 20 points and 16 rebounds in under 30 minutes, defenses can't just load up on Clark anymore. They have to pick their poison, and right now there's no good answer.
It was slow to get back into the play. Clark whip inside, hits Boston right on the money.
The 85-plus point streak tells you something real about how Indiana is built. They're not scratching out wins in the low 80s. They're scoring in bunches because Clark's pace, Boston's interior presence, and the floor spacing from Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull create a genuinely hard offense to guard for a full 40 minutes. 7 records from one game is already a lot, but 6 days later in San Francisco, Clark produced 9 more, and the 2 biggest ones weren't about scoring at all. They were about a number almost nobody tracks until a player starts threatening to rewrite it completely. The May 28th rematch at Chase Center was a different animal entirely. Golden State came in with something to prove after getting blown out in Indianapolis 6 days earlier. The Bay Area crowd was loud and hostile from the jump, and Clark was managing a back issue that had been bothering her on and off through the early part of the season. Indiana knew coming in that a road game against a motivated Valkyries team was going to be a fight.
Like I said, I do expect to be competitive. I do expect to be physical. I think those are the things that were probably most prevalent in the first game. And, you never know in the way they're going to call it too. That can impact the game. If they call it from the start, it might not be as physical. You just never know. So, both teams want to play with great pace. I expect it to be fast. I expect it to be a little bit more up-tempo, especially since last time they were coming off a back-to-back. I thought they kind of slowed it down a little bit more. So I expect them to play with a little bit more pace. But, yeah.
And it was close throughout, but the Fever actually had real chances to pull away in the fourth quarter. Clark was finding open teammates, the offense was clicking, and Raven Johnson off the bench was giving Golden State problems they clearly hadn't prepared for. Johnson attacked the Valkyries' defense in ways that forced them to completely change their rotations, and for long stretches of the second half, she was the best player on the floor. She finished with a career-high 16 points, and her performance told you something real about this Indiana roster. When Clark draws two defenders, there are now multiple players who can hurt you, not just one.
Cunningham leaking out. 90 seconds to play here in the third quarter. Johnson to Boston, back to Johnson, catch, shoots, fires, hits!
But as the game tightened in the final 2 minutes, the officiating started directly affecting possessions. Golden State got to the line on plays that looked questionable, and Indiana lost possessions on contact that didn't get whistled the other way. That's not sour grapes after a tough loss, that's what multiple analysts pointed to when they went back through the final 2 minutes. The Fever lost 90-88, and the 2-point margin had more to do with those late possessions than with any genuine difference between the two teams. Clark still hit a late logo 3 in San Francisco, deep and contested with the game hanging in the balance, and for a moment it genuinely looked like Indiana was going to steal it on the road. The Valkyries had thrown a physical, disruptive defense at her all night, rotating two bodies at her every time she touched the ball, and she still found ways to make plays. That's what made the final score so frustrating to watch, because a healthy Clark with 2 more fair possessions in the final 2 minutes, and this is a comfortable Fever win.
Big minutes for you, Seth. Clark! She'd been sitting for a while, but she's got the hot hand and drills a 3-point.
The back issue added a real layer to all of this because she wasn't at full strength physically and still produced a performance that rewrote 9 separate entries in the WNBA record books. Picture this, not at 100%. On the road, against a defense built specifically to stop her, absorbing contact on nearly every possession, and still generating 9 records in 1 game. The loss stings, and Indiana should feel like they got one taken from them in San Francisco, but the final score doesn't touch what Clark actually put in the box score that night. The numbers she posted on May 28th don't just beat WNBA records. Some of them beat NBA records too. The number is 59. That's how many career games it took Clark to do something the best players in WNBA history needed 25 more games to pull off, and once you see the gap, it's hard to unsee it.
They force another turnover. Clark, the quick pass, whips it right to Cunningham. 500 career assists for Caitlin Clark, the fastest to do it in WNBA history.
Let's talk about the 500 assist milestone first. Clark reached 500 career assists in the May 28th game, and she got there in 59 games. Ticha Penicheiro, who spent years as the gold standard for passing in this league, reached 500 assists in 69 games. Clark beat that by 10 games, which on its own would have been a great story. But the 500 assist record is actually the smaller of the 2 milestones from that night. Clark also became the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 1,000 career points and 500 career assists. She did it in 59 games. Sue Bird, who ran one of the most efficient offenses this league has ever seen for 2 decades, did it in 82 games. Sabrina Ionescu, who came into the league setting passing records of her own, did it in 84 games. Clark beat both of them by more than 20 games. And to put that in real terms, a WNBA regular season runs roughly 40 games, so 23 games faster than Sue Bird means Clark didn't edge past her. She cleared Bird by more than half a season. Here's where it gets interesting, because the comparison doesn't stop at the WNBA. Clark is the second fastest player in WNBA or NBA history, combined, to reach 1,000 points and 500 assists. The only player who got there faster across both leagues is Damon Stoudemire, who played in the NBA in the 1990s. Every other professional basketball guard, men's or women's, took longer than Clark did. That's the full scope of what she did in one road game while managing a back issue.
Missed a couple of games coming out of concussion protocol. This is as healthy as the Valkyries have been. Clark hits it right back and feeds Johnson for 2.
The assists per game average is probably the number that'll follow Clark's career forever. She's sitting at 8.5 assists per game all-time. Courtney Vandersloot, second on the all-time WNBA list, averages 6.6. Sabrina Ionescu sits at 5.9 in third. Clark is averaging nearly 2 more assists per game than the second-best passer in league history. And she's done it consistently over 59 career games, not a hot 3-week stretch. And then there are the combination records. Most 20-plus points and 10-plus assists games in WNBA history. Clark. Most 25-plus points and 10-plus assist games. Clark. Most 30-plus points and 10-plus assist games. Clark. All 3 records by herself, and it's not particularly close in any of them. Scoring 20 and dishing 10 in the same game is genuinely hard to sustain, because you're asking one player to dominate in 2 completely different ways on the same night, and Clark does it more than anyone who's ever played in this league. 9 records from the May 28th game, 7 from May 22nd, and Clark is only 59 games into her career. The Fever are still figuring out exactly how good they can be, and the record books already look completely different than they did 2 months ago. 16 records across 2 games against the same opponent, and Clark is only 59 games into her career. That's the part worth sitting with, because the records aren't just a snapshot of where she is right now. They're pointing at where this is all going, and the Fever's roster is built to accelerate that. Let's talk about what actually changed around Clark this season. When Myisha Hines-Allen and Sophie Cunningham are on the floor, teams can't just send 2 defenders at Clark and feel good about it, because both of them punish that decision. Hines-Allen attacks the closeout, Cunningham pulls up from mid-range, and suddenly the double team that used to be a safe defensive choice becomes a liability. Aaliyah Boston's 20-point, 16-rebound game against Golden State in under 30 minutes is exactly what that looks like in practice. Clark draws the extra body, Boston catches the entry pass, and Golden State's entire defensive structure breaks down because they've run out of help-side defenders to rotate over.
Now, take a look at this here altercation where Caitlin Clark hit a logo bomb. I mean, absolutely hit a logo bomb all over. And then she's talking that talking cash, S-H-I-T. And you're going to see look at Myisha Hines-Allen running to get in front of her. Don't you dare do nothing. You better fall back. You better fall back.
That problem gets harder to solve as the season goes on, not easier, because Boston's conditioning and role clarity improve every month, and defenses don't suddenly grow an extra defender. Raven Johnson's career-high 16 points off the bench in San Francisco told you something specific about this roster. She didn't score 16 in a blowout against a weak defense. She scored 16 in a tight road game against a team that had just spent 6 days preparing specifically for Indiana. That's a different kind of contribution, and it comes from a player who wasn't even in the starting lineup. The Fever now have real scoring options at multiple positions, so the old strategy of loading up on Clark and daring everyone else to beat you is quickly running out of viability. The 85-plus point streak through 6 straight games to open the season connects all of this. Indiana isn't grinding out low-scoring wins on defense. They're scoring in bunches because Clark's pace at 8.5 assists per game forces defenses to keep spreading out, and every time they spread out, Boston or Johnson or Hines-Allen or Cunningham finds a gap. That's not one player carrying a team, that's a system that's actually working. Clark is 59 games in, already ahead of every player who's ever played this game in points, assists, and threes through the same number of games, and the roster around her just posted a career-high performance from a bench player in a hostile road environment, while their star managed a back injury. The Fever went into San Francisco 2 games into a stretch that produced 16 WNBA records, lost by 2 points on questionable late calls, and still left with the better statistical performance. Show how proud you are of Caitlin and the team by commenting CC Record Breaker. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on all things basketball. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.